They want World War III, D'Anthony. They want it now.
Biden needs a war.
Sure does.
You know what I mean? And
Sure
you can
does.
tell. You can tell that they're itching for it.
Is it because of everything that's going on and even like the Hunter Biden shit? Don't you think that'll escalate it faster? Where it's like, hey, let's just bury the lead here and then go for war?
Maybe, but it's, if you remember, every war that was joined by the United States in the 20th century was joined by a Democratic politician. Every single one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody want to run me through the list?
No, Desert Storm was Republican.
Desert Storm was not a war, though, right?
Neither was Vietnam, then. I mean, you're talking about declared war?
No, I'm talking Desert Storm lasted 89 days.
Yeah, it was a really effective. It was a lot better than Vietnam.
Every major war that we were involved in the 20th century, like the two world ones, Vietnam, Korea, so on, were all started by Democrats. Not started by, it's not the right way to say that. But this is nothing new, right? Like this is it's the same ideology that produces a nanny state where we're the aristocracy. We know better than you. We'll control this stuff. You just fucking work at the factory. Once you export it to foreign policy, that's what it becomes, is nation building. That's why George W. Bush in 2000 ran on a non-nation building policy, even though he immediately flipped on that as soon as he got the opportunity. But he was running on that because that's something that conservatives typically believe in. And we've been in this Ukraine situation for a while now. And, I hear rumblings from time to time that the White House wants to put troops on the ground in Ukraine, which, by the way, would be a declaration of war against Russia. Absolute. Not fucking maybe this, maybe that. That's exactly what it would be.
Well, especially if some of our troops started getting killed, because then that would gain media attention and everything else, and then we're in it.
You don't need to even get that specific. So when we were in Iraq, let's say in 2005, Russia decided to deploy a brigade of infantry to Iraq to help the Iraqi resistance. Would that be a declaration of war against the United States? Fucking, of course it would, right? So things are getting more and more complicated here. And for some reason, this move by Russia, I don't understand, but they launched on Tuesday the series of attacks targeting critical infrastructure in Ukraine. Mostly energy depots. They were just trying to knock all the power out, which I don't understand why. Just like stupid. Why the fuck are you doing this?
Well, anyways. It's cold, Knock all the power out,
I think
dude.
they're trying to make it's political pressure. They're trying to make the Ukrainian populace feel fucking shitty.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it, man. But the West, this is bad intel on their part because the West was leaning really hard on Ukraine to start negotiating. The West and the UN were leaning really hard on him to start negotiating, and this just set it back. So who the fuck knows? But anyways, we all know the story now that a piece of ordnance landed in Poland and killed 2 people. And now the leaders of Poland, NATO, and the White House have said that the missile that killed 2 people was almost assuredly fired by Ukrainian forces defending their building. Now, I know for a fact that that's the case, and here's why. The missile that landed, as you can see from photographs you can find on the internet now and video, is an S-300 Soviet-made surface-to-surface or surface-to-air ordnance.
Can you find a picture of that, Bum?
Its maximum range is about somewhere between 56 and 96 miles, which is farther away than any Russian is from Poland, especially that location, right? So it's a 5V55 model, actually. The only reason there's a range from 56 to a 96 or 93 actually is because I don't know which version of the rocket they have. But the one that they almost assuredly have, the one that was pre-Soviet fall, is a 56 range, which isn't even close enough to get to Belarus, which is their closest ally.
Okay.
So from the very beginning of this, there's no possibility that Russia was involved, because this is all the way on the southwest side of the country, well away from Russian territory or any place where Russian military is.
So what are you saying this is?
I'm saying that Ukraine, one of the missile batteries in Ukraine fired an errant missile and killed 2 Polish people.
Gotcha.
Right? Which is, shit like that happens, I guess, in war sometimes. But yesterday, Zelensky said, fuck that. It's not our missile and not our missile strike. Hard line, because he wants He wants NATO to get involved.
Yeah,
right.
And he wants the U.S. to get involved.
Yeah, so if it's a deliberate Russian attack on a NATO country would trigger NATO Article 5, which requires a military response from NATO command. And that's exactly what NATO and the White House wanted. I've been hearing from people at the Pentagon for the last 3 days that NATO and even more so the White House have been pressing people to find a reason to send a brigade of infantry into the Ukraine. And luckily, finally, our leadership in the Pentagon stood up and told them no. That's what happened behind the scenes. But now the information is out, so they can't get away with it. But they're definitely going to try to find another opportunity, right? That's where this is going to go.
And if you were going to find another opportunity, exactly what you just described would be the best way to do it. And it would be in Zelensky's best interest to try to speed this up to get the U.S. and NATO involved. So how long until the next one of these happens? Because let's face it, this one was pretty effective as far as getting the media and worldwide attention and everybody talking about NATO, a potential World War III, and everything else. So what do you give it? A month before something else happens?
Well, you'll know what the intent is based on how much effort the White House puts into getting Zelensky to negotiate with Russia.
Okay.
Right? If you don't see a lot of public outcry from people in the Biden administration to begin negotiations with Russia, then you know that they're just biding time for their next opportunity to try to pin something on Russia. That's what's happening, right?
Okay.
So Zelensky now says that we don't know what happened. So he's backed off from his initial statements because he knows exactly what the fuck happened.
Sure.
By the way, he filmed a music video with a goddamn AT4.
Yeah, I got it.
Bob, go ahead and pull that up. It's on Tucker Max.
I thought you were.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tucker Max or Carlson?
Tucker Max.
Okay.
Our buddy, yeah. So if you believe that any of this shit is real that's going on in Ukraine right now, the people of Ukraine are suffering. There's no question about that. But if you believe any of this fucking geopolitical stuff is real, I urge you to watch this and see just how big of a fucking joke it really is.
So what are we about to watch here? Because I haven't seen this.
It's a music video that fucking Vladimir Zelensky is in, and he's like cruising around on stage with a fucking rocket launcher of some sort. It kind of looked like an AT-4 to me.
What year was this? Is this current?
This is this week.
Is it him just partying? All right, pop this
Well,
up.
I think they're making a propaganda film or something.
Okay. And is there a film crew? Oh, yeah, there we
it's a
go.
propaganda
Yeah,
film.
I see
Yeah,
it. I see it. It was underneath the
somebody
program.
from the crew pulled out probably was like, this
Cell
is
phone.
fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And pulled out a phone, and luckily we're getting to enjoy this. So
Great.
go ahead and play that.
Any music that's going to ding us?
It's all fucking Russian music.
Okay, great.
Ukrainian music.
We were probably already dinged for the Hard AF thing
Yeah, true.
because there was Drake in the background.
It was in the background.
Now that might be a javelin tube.
And that's Zelensky?
Yeah, that's a javelin missile tube. Yeah, that's him. Little drone there. You see that?
Wow, look at that, dude.
And I don't speak Ukrainian, but I imagine they're saying fuck Putin, maybe. I don't know.
It's a banger, though, Giorgio, you know?
But again, if you thought that any of this was real, that Vladimir Zelensky's a real person, that he's a real leader, I present you Exhibit A.
This is an accurate representation of like what the life is like too. It's just an empty stage with a camera.
Oh, yeah.
guy following
It's
you around.
identical. I've
Yeah.
shot a million of these fucking
Yeah, this
things.
is great. This is hilarious.
And you're there for 24 hours. You get all your shots and you leave.
So this is what your $100 billion in tax money that we've sent over there has purchased you, folks.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a fire music video.
Look at him go. He actually knows the angles, Giorgio.
Well, he was...
That rapper look in with the thing. That's right. He was a fucking comedian. You're right. You're right. He was an actor. I was like, dude, how do you know that? How do you know the fucking rap music fucking look in the camera and then slide it away, dude? You got to get those whip hands, dog.
But just to circle back to the actual content here, all of this evidence didn't stop the White House from putting an infantry brigade on standby to go into Ukraine, which would have been a declaration of war against Russia without congressional authority. Just to be clear, what's really happening here. There's being ready to respond to something, and then there's like basic common sense. Russia isn't going to directly attack NATO countries. That would be a fucking suicide mission for them. They know that. That's fucking dumb. They're not going to do it. So the idea that we even fucking stood up a goddamn brigade of people. And then there were special operations people that also got stood up this week for that stateside that were getting ready to deploy, but never did, because luckily the Pentagon did its job for a fucking change. But we're like right on the brink. The White House is begging for this shit because they're not the ones that have to go fight, obviously.
So from a military standpoint here, what happens to this infantry that's on the ground? Do they stay there, or do they go somewhere else?
They're in Poland right now.
Okay, and they're staying there no matter what.
Yeah, but we've always got troops all over the place.
Okay.
But not in Poland typically, I don't think. I don't think we usually have a brigade of fucking infantry in Poland.
Okay.
That would be new.